Good morning, good morning. What's up, folks? Sorry for the little bit of a delay there. I got caught up on a phone call that I just couldn't get off of, but I hope everybody's doing well this morning. Let me get my screen sharing going here. Go live there. Switch this over to our ES chart, and then I'm also going to go ahead and just remind folks that we are still doing this thing this morning, even though I'm slightly behind schedule. All right, get that out of the options chat. So what the heck did I just share? Okay, good. Like that didn't look right. Okay, and let me get back to our chat arena here. Looks like our mic's picking up, screen's picking up. Okay, everything looks good for the YouTube feed. I think we are ready to go. Let me get down back into the live stream chat. There we go. All right, let's see who is all here this morning. Yeah, sorry, Navy Plum. That's probably on me with the slightly delayed start this morning. Again, I do apologize. I couldn't get off that phone call. It was like kept seeming like it was gonna end, kept seeming like it was gonna end, and just one of those ones where it's like there's always that one last thing that they want to keep talking about. So anyway, my apologies. We're a little bit slow on the start this morning, but I'm sure we can make up for that lost time. So just want to say good morning to everybody. What's up, Skywalker, Stats Freak, Sataru, Navy Plum, of course, always good to see you, my friend. Nicole, trying to get to everybody. Tano, Darko, All or Nothing, Strife, good to see you. All right, so let's get to talking about what the heck is going on with the market. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, blah, blah, blah. Oh, what are you doing for Christmas? Well, I'm like, I'm not trying to be rude, but I gotta hang up on you right now. So, let's take a look at what kind of what we're looking at here on ES. Um, again, I mentioned this on Tuesday's live stream. This is just a crazy month for me going into year end this year for whatever reason. But we um, talked a little bit about this trend line that ES has been falling. I wanted to, I kind of noticed this starting to break down in the pre-market, and then we started to back test and reject. And when I started to see this, I was kind of pretty certain that we were going to see some kind of a pullback. And I don't think anybody expected anything like what we saw going into yesterday afternoon. I was actually, as I saw that in a meeting, pulled up my phone, bought like two, 475 puts for today's expiration. Um, you know, got back focused on my meeting, checked in on my Webull app, and I was like, oh, look, those are up like 50%. I'll go ahead and take profits on those. And got out of my meeting and got back to a computer, and they were at like, I closed them at like 90 cents. They were at like $4. I think they closed the day at like $6 or $7. So, again, certainly not that type of, shouldn't really expect that type of move. And everybody was looking for some kind of news catalyst or something like that that would give us sort of the reason why. And sometimes things are just technical. Charts precede the news. Again, I certainly wouldn't have expected a pullback like what we saw yesterday, but overall, not in bad shape. It looks like we essentially pulled back to the 200 SMA here on the hourly chart. Everything is still trending to the upside. We are getting ready to back test the 100 SMA. Things did clearly flip bullish or bearish. I'm sorry. From a Neptune perspective, however, when it's kind of how do I say it? Kind of an extreme, out of the ordinary range type move. Sometimes these flag flips can be temporary. We're already clearing over the bearish pressure on the trend ribbon, but I do have a little bit more pressure overhead and certainly would like to see things get back over 47.9750 there to potentially try to continue to recover and retest highs up in this range up here. So, and back above this weekly level, which I also like. So just keep your eye on ES. Make sure that you're using that kind of as your barometer for what might be happening with SPY and the markets in general, and just be ready to adapt as needed. So, with that being said, we do have a couple of trade plans from our live stream on Tuesday. Those being Upstart, which almost got a confirmed break here yesterday, ultimately pulled back and then followed the market with this pullback back to the downside. Kind of still sitting in our range, so keep this trade plan and these levels, on watch. Because really we haven't seen either side of this play out yet, essentially. So still in a little bit of a holding pattern on this one. Certainly starts to look much better over 46.91. I would say potential early entry there. You can see that we broke down and back tested as resistance, this 44.89 level going into the close yesterday. So I would say, if you wanted to take a little bit more of an early, more aggressive um, uh, entry on 46.91, you could look for a break over that. And then I would shift the stop loss up to 44.89. So yeah, keep your eyes on this one. Still potential setup here that could play out for us. And what's up? Good morning to everybody who has just joined. Appreciate y'all being here. The other one we have is Broadcom. We did this one Tuesday morning. This definitely looked like a good break, but we did talk about also the fact that Broadcom all-time highs, we are really kind of trying to project where price levels are going to be before they've ever been tested. This is pure price discovery in this range. So, it's a little bit harder to gauge. I would certainly be much more cautious. I think I probably said that a number of times, trying to play this for continuation to the upside, especially kind of at all-time highs, because we can do our Fibonacci extensions. I really liked how those set up. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to work the first time or every time, but just didn't quite make it to that first price target. Definitely looked like a good break and back test off of our call entry level there. Clearly, with the pullback in the markets yesterday, and actually just Broadcom kind of opened low and then followed the markets. Um, the upside trade plan has been totally invalidated at this point. So hopefully, if you did get in, you're already back out and did so kind of quickly. Looking at things where they're sitting right now, does look intriguing to me. Again, kind of similar scenario to Upstart, where if we could get a break back over 1133.15, there's a little confluence of resistance there. I could see things opening up for more upside. Question would be, what would you set your, and I would be looking at that 1146 level as a first target. I'd probably have my stop somewhere in this 1127 to 1120. Whoa. What am I reading here? 1124.85. Sorry, I was reading the current price, not the what I was looking at on the price axis. To the 1125.69 area. So anywhere in this range is probably where I'd have my stop loss if you do try to take that entry over 1133.15. So, with that, I think I just kind of rapid fired to catch up for the couple of minutes I was behind this morning. Let's get to charting some new trade plans. And so, in order to do that, why don't you guys hit me with some ticker requests? You can drop those in the chat. If you're new to joining these live streams, you can open the chat top right hand corner of the FOMO morning live stream channel. There's a little word bubble looking thing. If you click that, that'll open up the chat section. That's where you can type messages and ticker requests and all that stuff to me, and I will do my best to answer your questions, to interact, and to put together some solid trade plans for us to uh, continue to grow these accounts with. Roku, so Roku was actually on our member selected tickers over the weekend. Let's see where that's sitting. We essentially may already have an existing plan. Did you see that one, Dr. NG? Would have been in the options watch list on Sunday. Sorry, it's just looking at the chart and thinking at the same time. Yeah, so far, Roku does seem to be playing out to the downside after that sell-off yesterday. Nice breakdown, back test, did tap this 91.19 level, caught a little bit of support, but then again continued to back test and find resistance at our put entry level from the plan published on Sunday. Pushed down hard there, certainly. Didn't get, let's see, 88.69. I mean, that's a little bit far removed. Should say that's even within the reasonable range of that tapping the first price target. Maybe there's a support somewhere that I missed. Again, I'm human. I can make mistakes. So, but certainly, I mean, don't get greedy, especially when you've got a sell off that's moving that hard, that fast in your favor. Um, I hope if you were in this from the trade plan over the weekend that you took profit versus risking a probably what was a very green position on an overnight swing, knowing that we could really go back up through this fair value gap, and we did have GDP data coming out this morning that does seem to be lifting the market. So just make sure that you're always keeping those things in mind as you decide whether or not you want to swing contracts, especially contracts that are profitable. But so far, I mean, trade plan's still in effect. Nothing's invalidated. Could see. I kind of like the confluence that's setting up here at 92.86 with the 333 SMA right there. So keep an eye if you start to see things reject up in that area. I'd be willing to take a possible stab at re-entering Roku puts or taking Roku puts if you weren't already in. Um, but yeah, I would say stick with the trade plan and the watch list on this one. What's up, Chris? Good morning to you, buddy. Hope everything's going well. Um, so yeah, hopefully, Doc, that answers your question. I would say just stick to that plan. Look for this back test to play out, and if it does seem to be materializing and rejecting up in that 90 or near that 92.86 put entry level, um, yeah, I take a stab at some more puts if you didn't already bank on some, or if you did already bank on some. All right, so that was a quick one. And if you need to, let me do this watch list. Actually, I'll help you out here a little bit. What the hell? There we go. From in watch lists, Roku. All right. Copy this link. Pop back into the live stream here. There you go. Doc, that link I just posted in the chat should take you right to the Roku trade plan from Sunday. Levels do seem to be working well. Again, I might have been missing something down here, but 88.02, my first target, seems like it was maybe a little bit of a stretch to the downside for Roku to continue to play out. But yep, just stick to what we discussed here this morning as far as reutilizing this plan and those levels. That's what I would say on that one. All right, Microsoft. Sure thing, Sataru. Let me take a look at Microsoft. Microsoft. Why are these levels purple? These must be fib extensions. Wow. I owe Microsoft some attention, so I'm glad that you brought this one up, Sataru, because apparently it has printed new all-time highs. It's also up in some fib extensions. The uppermost fib extension, this is kind of neat, right? So we talk about this. I'm gonna sidetrack here for just a moment, but it's kind of cool when you see this, or at least I think it's cool. Clean up this chart a little bit. I don't know what I was looking at here, but clearly that hasn't been tested again. So 11/9/2021 is when I drew these light purple fib extensions. So almost 2 years ago, back when Microsoft was making new all-time highs, and we were trying to figure out where our potential resistances. So this 375.79 level would have been our uppermost fib extension when we drew those 2 years ago. And here we are getting weekly candle rejections, um, daily candle rejections, and support pretty damn close to a level that, we were nowhere near 2 years ago. Um, but we called that level being support 2 years before it ever happened. So anyway, that's always kind of neat to see. So yeah, sometimes I'll do that. I'll mark down or I'll write something in the same color as what I drew the fib extensions in, so I can remember like when did I draw those, and it'll be interesting to see when that stuff plays out and just happen to notice that. So anyway, kind of neat. Make sure that you're learning how to use that fib extension tool, especially if you're dealing with something that's making new all-time highs or new all-time lows. That can really be your best friend when it comes to trying to figure out where those supports that have either supports or resistances that have really never been tested before may be. You really don't have another choice besides just blind guessing, and that's clearly not not an effective strategy. So anyway, let's take a look at Microsoft. I need to add some levels in here. This doesn't fully meet my criteria, but man, the projection and bounce right there were just so significant. I am gonna at least keep this one on watch. Maybe they're actually gonna do this. Make this a slightly different. Nah, that's not different enough. Keep this one on watch. Yeah, we'll wait for that one to confirm, but definitely looks like a weekly level. All right, we're not gonna have anything else from a weekly perspective up in that range. This is clearly a confirmed level that we called 2 years ago. Let's see. Where are my levels, Microsoft? This is an interesting one. Pretty close, maybe just a little bit lower. Come on, move line. Right about there. And this is another one. I don't think I saved the date. I didn't see it at least when I drew these dark purple fib extensions. I don't know why I didn't. But those seem to have been playing out as well, or at least some of them. Looking at this guy right here, catching some support off it there. Not a whole lot else though. Actually, there's more of this one that was closer. I was looking at that resistance turn to support. Again, not laser accurate, but it's not going to be because we are not drawing them based on actual price action. Yeah, and there's really not enough there on the. Oops, I didn't mean to move that. There's really not enough there on the daily chart to do much with. An interesting couple of resistance tests, but yeah, I think we're gonna have to get into some hourly time frames here to really start to see how this is gonna play out. Yeah, that clears up that level. I was thinking was up there, but just wasn't totally validated yet. Um, that's interesting. Also this. And that guy's, yeah, right there. Yeah, I think 4 hour level sitting right there. This fib extension, they were both close, but not really nailing anything. I think this level, if it was, yeah, if there was one that formed, there might be one right here. We'll take a look at this one in just a second. This, I think, is pretty much accounted for by that 4 hour level that we just drew. So, yeah, those darker purple fibs, not quite as accurate, in the right neck of the woods, but not quite as accurate as the lighter ones that I drew a while ago. And probably not going to get any help on that blue level that we're kind of eyeballing. So we'll keep that on watch. It's not enough on the 4-hour chart there, but I think there's something there. So we'll keep an eye on it. Yeah, definitely have something right here. And then the rest of this, I'm just trying to figure out. Yeah, most of this run from this point forward, we're gonna have minimal price action for. Um, but interesting breakover, back test, push higher off that fib extension. Kind of the same thing here. Not higher, but bounced off of it. All right, let's see if we can't get a little bit more clarity on these. Yeah, these light purple fibs though were pretty bang on. Deranged Kong, how did he handle what happened yesterday? 2 week out contracts, which are down 20%, but now they are back green. Um, so you were in. It sounds like you were in puts that still had 2 weeks of time on them. They were pretty red, and then the market dumped and they flipped. Oh, so you're. I guess are we're assuming that they're back green when the market opens, right? You don't know that for sure. Okay. Um, I think it would really depend on, you know, I hate to kind of use this as like the default answer, um, but it's the right answer, which would be, what does your plan dictate, right? And so if you're down 20%, right? And I don't know like. Let's talk about this from an ES perspective, I guess. If you got into calls here, I guess trying to catch this falling knife, and finished off down here, you're down 20%. You start to get a bounce, and you're coming up to kind of a key confluence of resistance, and those calls have gone from red to green, and you're running up against strong resistance. I would certainly start scaling some out, um, but again, that's why we have trade plans, and that's why we have the levels in place that we have, because we can use those to adapt the plan as needed. So, if you know, hit your entry level, let's say you hit your stop loss, average down level, you decide that, things look like they could move back in your favor for, again, not just based on your bias, but based on what you're seeing on the chart. Some technical indicators are showing that, or volume showing that, as buyers are coming in at that key support. If we're talking about calls, for example, um, but if you have to do that, right, your plan didn't go exactly as planned, and so you need to adjust and adapt. So as you come to perhaps test your um, call entry level again, which is going to be a resistance after dropping lower and getting that average down, yeah, I mean you should be scaling out contracts to readjust your position size back to where you intended it to be when you started the plan, and then as you test resistances again, if your contracts have moved back to green, or even if it's significantly mitigated your losses, it's sometimes the right call to just go ahead and start scaling some out, even if they're still red. If you've gone from a 60% red trade to a 10% red trade, because your stop loss average down level saved you and you didn't add to your position at that spot. um, you know, adjust your exposure to that trade accordingly, right? Because it didn't go exactly as planned, so you need to be willing to adapt, but it should all be based on what's in the plan. So anyway, sorry, I hope that answers your question. Perfect. Well, I'm glad I was able to help. All right, so let's sorry, get back to Microsoft here. That's a good question though. So I wanted to that was definitely worth taking a pause and discussing real quick, because I think a lot of people wonder that. I'm sure that happens all the time. It's like, oh man, these are red, now these are green. Like, do I just cut them here or what do I do? Just stick to your plan. And if your levels are playing out right, you're seeing your plans work effectively. Um, trust yourself and your analysis and let things play out. Don't let the movement on the contract price be the thing that determines how you're handling the trade. Because in the world of options, that is, you know, there are exceptions to that rule. There's exceptions to every rule in trading, but for the most part, that's how you want to handle it. Now, again, I'd say like the first exception that would come to mind for me to that would be, um, you know, if you're, let's say, like in a lotto position or any type of position where let's say you have multiple contracts, like so you got 6 contracts, for example. I'm kind of thinking of the recent call lotto that was so close it just made the move a little bit too late. Um, that we did recently. If you're in 6 contracts, I even put that in the chat, right? I've got 6 contracts. I'm looking to get out 2/3 at 50% because I know I'm in, an overall risky trade. So buy 6 contracts, get out 2/3 at 50%. That's one of the few times where I would say, okay, let your options contract price dictate what you do with the trade. Go ahead and establish those free runners because you're, you're on 0-day contracts and you were trying to thread the needle and it worked. I mean, for us, it didn't work, but it was a very small position. Um, and yeah, so that would be like one of the few exceptions to that rule. But there are some. Generally speaking, though, let the chart tell you what to do with your trade. Don't let the options contract price tell you what to do with your trade. That is the best advice I can give anybody. All right. Try to nail down the rest of this Microsoft plan here. Um, kind of like giving me AVGO vibes up in this range. Like, we've got some support resistance. Whoops, some support resistance, but nothing that's really. So, I haven't spent a lot of time up here establishing the levels, and that is my speciality is finding the levels and executing on those. So if they're hard to find, or we just don't have the price data to find them, it gets a little tricky, but not undoable. All right, let's see. I think we are probably in a pretty good spot here, actually. Yeah, that's an interesting level, actually. We're going to want to keep an eye on this. And this is very small, but there's maybe a little something there. This is interesting, though. It's all extended hours. Maybe I have that 4-hour level. No, I think that's where it needs to be. Actually, it might be that 4-hour level could be a little bit high. And we have an hourly level sitting right underneath it. That's what it looks like. Um, and it would be right there. That's really tight, but it's like a little 50-cent window, but it's in there. And actually, where is this? Yeah, right here. Okay, let's pop on good old indicators. See what Neptune's showing. Kind of chaotic. That's what it looks like. You don't necessarily like. Um, hmm. I do see there's enough of a window. If we can break through this rejection yesterday, there is a decent risk reward move here to get things started, which is kind of generally all I look for to get a trade plan going is, do I have a good risk reward between where I have a really clear stop loss where we're finding these rejections and I think downside becomes problematic below this level, above this level. I think we open up at least to that resistance point there, that most recent rejection. We also see that acting as support fairly recently before we broke down below, and then we came back and back tested as resistance. So definitely would want to be scaling out there. But if we look at this setup like this, pretty decent, better than 1-to-1. Not the best, but decent. Yeah, 100% what Iggy just said. Just, focus on developing good plans. That is, and if you're struggling with that, or if you're just not sure where to start, Iggy's got it right there in his name. I can help you get some uh, mentoring with somebody here in the group, and let them walk you through it. Um, I guarantee it'll be the best investment you've ever made in yourself. That's all I'll say. As far as if you have any interest in kind of really finding your path and your niche in the world of trading, if you're lost, get somebody to help you. I wouldn't go wandering out into the woods without somebody who knows what they're doing, some kind of a guide to say, hey, don't eat that berry. That thing's going to kill you. Um, all right. So, yeah, if you're struggling with that sort of stuff, how to build trade plans, all that, definitely. Mentoring. Education first before you put any money in the market is my personal opinion. Make sure you have sound technical, uh, a sound technical skill set, and use it on paper for a little while, and then start playing around with real money. All right. So this is what Microsoft looks like to me. And gosh, I'm sorry guys, because I got a late start, but I think we did have I kind of gone off on my little spiels there, but very important spiels, I would say. Um, I do have to, I've got to take my car into the shop today. Routine maintenance, and my appointment's at 9:30. I picked an excellent time for that, didn't I? It's the only time they can get me in, though. And I want to let them have it while I go out of town so they can check a few things for me. Um, so, we're going to do this Microsoft trade plan. Then I got to knock out the SPY plan, and then I got to drop that off, and then I'll be back for shortly after market open. But this is what I'm looking at for Microsoft. Yeah, that dip just made things real chaotic, that sell off yesterday. All right. This is what we're looking at for Microsoft trade plan. So on Microsoft, well, I guess we did do Roku, but that was more of a recap than like a totally from scratch trade plan. Um, so what we're looking for here on Microsoft is a break over 375.79. That should give us targets at 377.64, 379.96, and 383.04, with a stop loss average down at 374.47. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 369.62, with targets at 367.01, 365.34, and 363.09, with a stop loss average down at 371.48. That is your Microsoft trade plan. So with that, I am going to, again, kind of wrap things up a little bit early, and I do, again, apologize for the slightly late start this morning. But I do want to thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. I also want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. This will be our last live stream until Christmas comes. Next, what is that, Monday? Yeah, this coming Monday. There will not be a live stream next Tuesday. I'm actually traveling, like I said, for the Christmas holiday, and will actually be traveling back on Tuesday. Won't be able to do a live stream Tuesday morning, unfortunately. But we will be back next Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please come and join us for that. Um, and I will be in the chats between now and the weekend. So not totally gone, but this is our last live stream before Christmas comes. Good old Santa sliding down the chimney. So I hope you guys find a bunch of presents under the tree. I know that we are constantly putting them under your trees here at Xtrades in the form of building those accounts and growing your trading knowledge. So again, I can't thank you guys enough for being a part of Xtrades and for joining us here on the FOMO live stream. With that, as we always say, and as we talked about this morning specifically, plan your trades and trade your plans. Go out there, get some green. I will see you guys in the chat. Have a fantastic day and have a very Merry Christmas. Talk to you soon.